Three, two, one. Welcome to the SaaS Pulse Show. My name is Michael Bertoni, and I'm the founder and CEO of SaaS Talent. And really unbelievably excited today, we have a SaaS and software payments leader on the phone here. On the conference here. It's amazing. So I wanted to introduce everyone to Joshua Silver. He is the founder and CEO of Rainforest or Rainforest Pay. Their tagline is payment processing for your platform. Pretty straightforward. So it's great to have you on the show, Joshua.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, Michael. Looking forward to getting into it.
No, it's awesome. So what I always love to start with, Joshua, is the superhero backstory, right? So I was taking a look at your journey, some pretty cool stuff. You had a company called Patientco. You exited to Waystar, so you've been in the trenches for a while. But I always like to start with the superhero backstory. So your journey that led you to Rainforest, what does that look like?
Yeah, so to make a long story short, I've been doing payments and software my whole career now, coming up on 20 years. We started Patientco in the mid-2000s. It was a software company focused on helping hospitals streamline their patient billing. So if you've ever gotten a confusing healthcare bill, I think all of us have, we really solved that problem and made it easy for patients to pay. And over the course of a decade, we raised several rounds of venture capital and had a successful exit to a private equity firm in Waystar. So I've seen the journey from literally two guys in a garage all the way through that exit. And then subsequent to that, spent a couple of years doing consulting again in the payment space. And that's where the idea for Rainforest came about, as I saw how many software companies were trying to add payments processing into their software products. And they were having so many challenges with trying to deal with the payment processors and payment vendors and partners. And having built a company myself and scale that, I knew that we could do better. And we went and solved that itch. It got a bunch of the previous team back together. And in early 2022, we started Rainforest. And as you mentioned, Rainforest is focused on helping software companies add payment processing capabilities into their product. And I kind of give people the example who may not be super familiar with the embedded payment space. It's kind of like in the old days, you had to a separate operation of working with a taxi and paying for that taxi. They were very disjointed, right? At the end of a taxi ride, you already had a fumble getting the directions and all that to get to the right place. And then you had to figure out, how the heck am I going to pay? Is it cash? You arguing about a credit card? Now, Uber and Lyft and all these other rideshare companies have natively integrated payment processing. It's as easy as closing the door and you're paid. And you see that in every segment of the industry, whether it's pay at table, where you don't have to wait for a server anymore. You can just scan that QR code and pay. All of these companies behind the scenes needs payment infrastructure providers. We're that payment infrastructure provider for many, many software companies.
I love it. I love it. And you actually answered my first question, but I'd love for you to sum it up in terms of you're going up in an elevator with your ICP, right? For some reason, the ICP is standing right next to you. And what do you do? What do you do? So what's your value proposition? Little quick overview.
So we make it easy for software companies to add new revenue streams by adding payment processing. And so every single dollar that gets processed through that software company, if it's riding our rails, that software company is making money on. And so you could take a mid-market software company, maybe they're doing 10 million in ARR. They've hit that great 10 million mark. With payments, they could actually double that to 20 million. And so think about, from a valuation perspective, think about from a customer stickiness perspective, this huge new revenue stream that's unlocked by adding payments and other financial services into their core SaaS platform.
No, I love it. Obviously, there are some 300-pound gorillas in the room, right, around payment. So sure. I would love to hear your, what sets your company apart, right? So there are some big players in that market and that are doing it, and it's obviously a massive market to grow in. So what really sets you guys apart from the other vendors? There's companies like Stripe, and there's a lot of them, right? But what do you do differently that makes it better for SaaS and software companies?
I think at the end of the day, the real difference between Rainforest and others is that our product is purpose built for this use case. So you take my experience of 10 years having run a vertical SaaS company, which is what our customers are doing, then consulting over 50 different companies and helping see what they need and see kind of the market landscape. We
Mhm.
purpose built this for this exact use case and this exact flow. And nobody else out there, including Stripe and the other 300-pound gorillas, none of them built for this use case. Now they can
Right.
offer capabilities, but they bolted them on. And it's the typical square peg round hole situation where you jam that peg in there hard enough, eventually it's gonna get in the hole. But there's a lot of gaps on the outside. We
Sure.
have something that just nicely fits in. And so everything from the technology, the integration, the service layer, the pricing, the economics, everything's purpose built for this. And so it makes it really easy if you're the CEO or leader of a SaaS company and you think there's opportunities to make more money on payments, you want to partner with someone like us who really has gone through the cycles and has seen how this stuff works and can be a partner versus just a technology vendor. If you just want, hey, I need some APIs to work with, everybody can do that. There's tons of them out there, but that's not where the magic happens.
Oh, it's great. So my audience here is mostly early stage SaaS and tech companies and
Yeah.
solopreneurs. So if you are thinking about payments, reach out to Joshua. I always love it when somebody on the podcast is like, wow, some people actually reached out to me. So he's
Yeah.
payments, he's SaaS. That's my ICP. That's your ICP.
Mm-hmm.
Let's create some friendly ICP-ness here. So this is
Love
great.
it.
So talk about your challenges, right? So what's really cool, what you said, you exited a company, 2022 comes around, you build this product, it's 2024, right? You're going to market. What have
Yep.
been your top challenges? What have been the biggest challenges you faced as a company, and how are you overcoming them?
So I think the biggest challenge in growing any company and having done this before, which will be music to your ears, is talent, right? You have to find the right people and get them in the right seats on the bus. And it is really, really hard. And I know there's a lot of talk these days, Michael, about softer economy or things like that. We just haven't seen that. I think for top talent, the competition now is just as fierce as it ever has been.
Yeah.
I think and I think that applies almost to every business. I don't think I've ever met a business leader who said, "Nah, we're good on talent."
Right.
That's not a challenge. It's always a challenge. But beyond that, I think the specifics in our business. It is a noisy space. There's a lot of people running around saying, "Hey, we do embedded payments," and the reality is many people don't. A lot of people are just resellers. They're kind of just wrappers on some bigger legacy company. And so you can put an awful lot of lipstick on a pig and make it look decent. And that's what we've seen. And so we're kind of coming in a few years later saying, hey, we know you've been burned by other companies that had made a lot of big promises and didn't deliver, but we're different. Our solution really works, and here's why. So certainly some of the battle scars that our earlier competitors have left was not fun. And then just a lot of competition in the space generally. So helping people understand what is our ICP. We are a very focused and opinionated company. We want to do one thing and we want to do it better than anybody else in the country does. But we're not going to do 15 other things, right? We do that
Right.
thing really, really well. And we kind of know our swim lane. And that's, after almost 20 years of business, that's kind of been my number one thing is focus. And so staying really straight down the fairway on that is critical.
Yeah, you know what's amazing, Joshua? So I just came back from SaaS Open and then
Mhm.
SaaStr.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, like both places, I was like a kid in a candy store. I mean, it was like SaaS founders, SaaS Open was more bootstrap to kind of like
Yeah.
earlier stage. And SaaStr, I mean, I don't know if you've heard about this, but I mean, I was out there, it was all SaaS. It was like all early stage SaaS. My ICPs were just like walking around. It was amazing. But yeah, we'll talk more about that. And if you go to those things, but
Yeah.
so guess the thing that I'm very curious about. So your focus is SaaS. A lot of
Hmm.
talk in these conferences has been about ICP and go to
Hmm.
market, right?
Yep.
So what I'd really love to understand also for my network, like just because my
Yeah.
network is SaaS, is what is really your ICP? And how are you going to market? Like, how is that working at a high level? What's working, what's not working, and talk about it because it'll help everybody.
Yeah, so our ICP, our ideal customer profile, is vertical SaaS companies. So we can work with horizontal ones, but vertical is really the sweet spot. We can do a fantastic job with vertical companies.
Hmm.
Typically, it's a business management software of some type, and there's a broad definition of that. It could be for services businesses, a platform for accountants to run all their billing through, or the lawyers to run their billing through. It could be for plumbers and floor installers and electricians to run their field services business with. It could even be nonprofits and church donation management software. So a wide range of
Love it.
vertical SaaS companies, but anyone who's kind of transacting dollars on behalf of their end customer, we would call them merchants, but really it's their customers. We help them do that. From a size perspective, we have a lot of expertise in mid-market. So once you've gotten some payment volume and are ready to really supercharge that, we can help you grow from 50 million a year to 100 or 200 or 300 million a year in processing volume. And that really drives huge revenues. And, we've just got a lot of expertise with helping people with that graduation. So if you're a growing vertical SaaS company that takes payments or wants to take payments on behalf of your clients, your merchants, we are a good fit for you.
Yeah, it's amazing, Joshua. When I'm talking to someone, you know exactly what I mean, like if you get an opportunity and you're listening to this right now, reach out. If Joshua can meet with you for 30 minutes, he will give you an MBA in 30 minutes of a SaaS company. I could already tell just by the way you're talking. So really impressive. You did it once. Let's do it again. Really, really awesome. So in terms of just, you had talked about it too. You had even talked about my next question, talent, right? You grew a company. I'm sure you have some big thoughts and opinions on talent, right? You had said it even earlier. You said talent's real important. So what are the
Yeah.
things that in with talent and people and different things like that, what's important to you and what should be important to the people listening?
So for us, I think there's a couple of things we look at. One is, what speed does this candidate operate at? I think
Mhm.
a lot of times you see bigger companies may not move as fast as startups, and so we want to make sure that candidates can really move at the speed that we're moving at. And I like to ask a question to candidates, something along the lines of, if you think we're moving really fast, what does that look like? And if they're in sales, how many leads do you think you need to talk to in a week? And if there's a
Yeah.
huge difference between what I'm thinking and they're thinking, we have to have a conversation about, why is that? Or if they're a developer, we say, hey, how fast do you think we can ship features? And if the answer kind of isn't order of magnitude where we're thinking, that's a red flag. So I think speed and operating cadence is really important. Do they really have that energy to go and crush it? Beyond that, I think we look for people who have a track record of solving tough new problems. Almost everything we do as a scaling company, we're doing for the first time, right? Whether we're going into a new market or launching a new product or helping a new type of customer. And we need people who obviously have lots of experience, but also when a new challenge gets in front of them, they're not going to let the fact that it's unknown deter them. They're going
Right.
to go in and they're going to go figure out how to do that. And so again, we're looking for the kind of the track record of that. And then the third is, we want people who understand what we're doing and have some
Mhm.
type of passion for it. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that every single employee who works here goes to bed thinking about payments at night like I do, but they all really understand what we're doing and understand that we're helping build sustainability in SaaS companies, and we're helping them create stickier products for their customers and drive new high margin revenue streams, things that are really important. And so, payments is a really good driver of the economy, and we're kind of at
Mhm.
the forefront of that. And so those kind of are three areas that we look at that may be a little unusual, or things that not everybody looks at beyond the basics.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're hitting the market at a good time, right? So right now, in the last, say, few years, as you've been building your platform, it's been a little light. Next year looks like a growth. Looks like let's all hope, right? Growth for everybody. But
Yeah.
really excited. So this has been a really really amazing podcast, Joshua. I mean, we're streaming right through this. In terms of advice, right? So you've been there, you've been there,
Mhm.
done that. You're doing it again. what are the 2 or 3 biggest piece of advice that you would give other people listening to this, other SaaS founders, maybe somebody thinking about, hey, maybe I want to do this? What type
Yeah.
of advice, what type of advice would you give them?
I think that the number one most important thing is obsess over customers. Um, I did a LinkedIn post yesterday where I talked about that we invest more than all of our competitors on a per merchant basis in service,
Hmm.
because we know that's a key differentiator. And it's not just, hey, we're going to provide good customer service, but we actually do proactive outreach. We solve problems before people know they exist.
Right.
Things that are truly differentiated from a service perspective. And so if you take great care, not good care, absolutely great care of a customer, that'll pay back in spades because they'll stay a long time and they'll tell all of their friends and colleagues and network about how great your service is. And we're still very fortunate. We grow a tremendous amount through inbound leads because of referrals. And that's because we've delivered so well on the product. So number one is just absolutely obsess about customers and make sure that anyone in a customer facing role is prepared to go above and beyond. And I think
Right.
you talk to anyone on our team that works with customers regularly, and they'll tell you, when we got here, we didn't know what amazing customer service looks like, and you pushed
Yeah.
us really hard. That's one. I think another would be, um, really understanding your market well. My
Right.
previous company was in healthcare, and I was young at the time. I had no experience in healthcare or really payments either.
Mm-hmm.
And I invested a tremendous amount of time learning the industry. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, a good example, Michael, is when I first started in healthcare. I went to a small physicians group, and I went to their back office, and I said, "Hey, put me to work just keying in payments all day." And they're like, "You're highly educated. What do you mean you're going to come do an hourly job?" And I said, "No, you don't have to pay me. I just want to learn for 2 weeks how this thing works." And within the matter of 2 weeks, I'd asked so many questions that, one, I think they're ready to kick me out, but two, I knew that business better than they did. And it's the same thing today. We know our core team knows SaaS payments better than almost anybody out there in the industry. And so there's really no question you can ask us that we haven't seen before. And even if you are in a new industry, you can invest the time, whether it's going to conferences, spending time with your clients, reading books, reading articles. You need to be the expert, bar none. And the last piece of advice I'll give to founders is just find good mentors. I've always been super fortunate to be surrounded by folks who have done startups before us, who've been in the industry for a long time. And they've invested quite a bit in us from a reputation perspective, making reference calls, or things like that. Answering questions. And we do the same. There's a number of startup founders that I mentor today, and kind of give that back and pay forward as other people have done for me. So, invest in trying to find out who that network is. And look, if you can't find anybody in the industry you're targeting that's excited about your business, you might have bigger problems, because if you can't get people excited, it's going to be pretty hard to find customers too. So I think that's also a good early sign. Can you find people who really know the industry getting excited about it? That's a great positive sign.
So, Joshua, I got to tell you again, I mean, this was one of the most streamlined podcasts. I think you were answering the questions before I asked you. So, thank you so much. So, again, everybody needs to reach out to Joshua Silver from Rainforest, right? If you're in payments, obviously, if you're doing anything with payments in SaaS, if you're learning how to pay people, if you want to reach out to them, connect with them on LinkedIn. So stick around for a few minutes, Joshua. We'll debrief here, but it was awesome having you on the show, and I'm looking forward to following your journey.
Well, great. Thanks for having us. And our website address, if you're listening, is rainforestpay.com. So check us out there, contact us, and follow me on LinkedIn as well. I'll put out a ton of content, not just about SaaS and payments, but leadership in general.
Awesome. Thanks.